May I have your name, please, sir?
Gayle Newman.
And this is Mrs. Newman?
Yes, sir.
And this is?
James Clayton.
James, and this is?
Billy.
Billy, tell me what you saw and what you felt. What happened to you?
We just come from left field after seeing the President and the First Lady, and we were just in front of the triple underpass on Elm Street, and we're at the edge of the curve, getting ready to wave at the President. So
You were down under the viaduct, so to speak, weren't you?
we were halfway in between
on the grass,
triple underpass. We were at the curve when the incident happened. But the President's car was some 50 feet still yet
In front of you?
in front of us coming towards us, and we heard the first shot, and the President, I don't know who was hit first, but the President jumped up in his seat, and I thought it scared him. I thought it was a firecracker because he looked, fear. And then as the car got directly in front of us, well, a gunshot apparently from behind us hit the President in the side of the temple.
Do you think the first gunshot came from behind you, too?
I think it came from the same location. Apparently back up on the mall. I don't know what you call it.
For the benefit of nomenclature, all you folks have gone out under the viaduct, and as you turn, going under the viaduct on the left-hand side, there's some grass. Do you think the shot came from up on top of the viaduct toward the President? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Not on the viaduct itself, but up on top of the hill, a little mound of ground there, the garden.
How far away would you say that is from where the President was? A couple of 300 yards, something like that?
Well, I have no idea because I didn't see where the gunshot come from. We were looking directly at the President when he was hit, and he was more or less directly in front of us, and we didn't realize what happened until we seen the side of his head whenever the bullet hit him in the head.
Did you see the blood coming from the President's head?
Yes, sir. I seen that. I don't know if my wife did. I seen that. Sir.
Oh, yes, sir. It was awful.
It is awful.
That's all.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a construction worker, electrician.
Is this the first time that you have seen a President of the United States? Did you see him when he was here before in 1961?
No, sir.
No, sir. Your housewife
Yes, sir.
took the day off to come downtown and see the President?
Yes, sir, we did. We wanted our children to see it.
Were you in the line of fire? I remember vividly whenever I walked over and looked over the banister there and saw across the street that you were down on the ground so that to keep out of the line of fire. What was the first thought that struck your mind?
Oh, I thought it was a firecracker, and I saw the blood, and I had the baby, and I just ran, and I got on top of him and laid on the grass. It just scared me. It was terrible.
Did you see anyone else hit besides the...
Governor Conley was kind of turned to the side, and he grabbed his stomach.
Okay. Thank you. Jerry, if anything else comes in, we had a report, and I'd like to say here, for the benefit of you folks who are tuning in, who have tuned in late to watch Julie Bonnell's show, that we interrupt the program, and our program will be interrupted all day because it is apparent now that President Kennedy has been shot. We have no word in our newsroom, but we are standing by in our newsroom, and would you work as a runner with the newsroom, and as anything comes in, and if you get into the boys that come in that have been gathering the news, please bring them in so that we can have them on the air. Here is another word. We know, as we carried here, and all the stations carried this morning, the President spoke this morning in Fort Worth. He flew to Dallas, and that coverage was on. He landed here about 1:30, between 1:35 and 1:40. Vicki, did you get the coffee for the people? Bring it on in. He was to deliver a speech at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and he was on a motorcade and only about, I guess, 2 or 3 miles from where he was to make the speech in the Trade Mart whenever this terrible, disastrous thing happened, and it happened in our city. Secret Service agents that were in the car immediately began following the President. They pulled automatic rifles. I was an eyewitness to one of the policemen standing there behind a light pole, and you'll excuse me if I'm frustrated, you would be too, standing there with a pistol in his hand. The bubble of the President's car was down when the shots rang out. In fact, if I remember correctly, when they took off from the airport, there was no bubble on the car. The President slumped over in the back seat, face down. Conley lay on the floor of the rear seat. Wounds in the governor's chest were clearly visible. This is from the United Press. The wounds indicated that an automatic weapon was used. 3 loud bursts of gunfire were heard before the President and the governor fell. Just a few minutes before, Jerry Haynes and I, the president smiling and his lovely wife smiling. Do you have any idea which direction? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I forgot my name at this stage. Mr. Newman, do you have any idea which direction? Would you like to go ahead? Go right ahead. I'm so sorry that you're so upset, and I hope we're not prevailing upon your good nature to have you here, except with the news like this. Mr. Newman, do you have any idea which direction the shots came from that hit the president or Connolly? Did you say that one of the shots came from one direction and one from another, it seemed like?
No, sir. Actually, I feel that they both come from directly behind where we were standing.
Right behind you.
The president, it looked like he was looking in that direction. I don't know whether he was hit first. Apparently he wasn't. It looked like he jumped up in his seat, and when he jumped up, well, he was shot directly in the head. And I don't know what you call it, the mall behind us, but apparently that's
where he was. I know that a few minutes after that, when I came over there and asked you people if you'd be kind enough to come over and be on our station today, I know that the police were all taking off up the ramp and over.
Everybody was going in that direction.
Toward the railroad.
Yes, sir.
Cars back over in there.
I just hope the man that shot the president, I just hope they don't kill him. I hope he lives. I hope he just lives to it. And that's all the comment.
The presidential advisor.
Excuse me. Jerry Haynes, you know Jerry. Mr. Peppermint. Jerry and I were within 100 yards of where the president was shot. And Jerry, you'll have to, there's another mic here somewhere. Can we excuse our impromptu, here we go. Can we turn this, is this one on now, Bobby?
On the Associated Press, someone had asked one of the presidential advisors or companions for any news, and he refused comment. They asked if he had been wounded fatally. And this was about 5 minutes ago that came over about the same time I brought that bulletin in.
Do we have a report yet from Parkland Hospital? Is there any word from there?
No, not yet.
Vicky, will you check in the newsroom and see if any of the newsmen are there? See if
Are we on tape on there?
we're both. We're on the air now, and we are taping the program too. Your first appearance on television, I take it?
Yes, sir. It's my first.
And isn't it a shame that it's under the conditions that we're under now?
Yes, sir. It's a shame.
When I first looked over the balcony to where the chaos was taking place, this gentleman and his wife and 2 children were on the grass. Now, once again, if you joined us originally when we cut into the program about 1:45 to 1 o'clock, you heard his statement. Mr. Nunley, would you tell us once again exactly what... Mr. Newman, I'm sorry. Look right there. Mr. Newman, will you tell us exactly what you know?
Well, my wife and my 2 sons were standing at the curb looking at the president approaching us, and we heard a blast, and the president looked like that he jumped up in his seat, and by that time he was directly in front of us, and then we seen him get shot in the side of the head, and he fell back in the seat, and Governor Connolly was holding his stomach.
And the shots were almost simultaneously, weren't they?
Yes, sir, they were probably 10 seconds apart.
Do you know who fired the 3rd shot?
I didn't hear I don't recall a 3rd shot. There may have been. My family hit the ground, and I don't recall a 3rd shot. I just couldn't, I'm not certain of that. I do know I heard 2 shots.
Yeah, I heard 3. I know there were 3.
Well,
yeah, I said to Jerry after the 2nd shot, I said, my God, those are gunshots. And sure enough, they were, unfortunately. Let me bring you up to date now. Yeah, I understand that we're having trouble in here with a pickup, so we'll move back to the studio. Is that correct? Just a minute. Ed, what is it you said? This is Ed Pfeiffer, our station manager. Excuse me just a minute. You want to go have a cup of coffee, and we'll be right back.